There's a lot of talk right now about obstruction of justice. And I'm thrilled to tell you we're about to do something informative because I have an exclusive interview with the witness, according to Bob Mueller, of alleged obstruction by a top Trump advisor. Randy Credico is cited in Bob Mueller's indictment of Roger Stone as the person number 2, and he has not ever spoken out publicly since named as such in that Mueller indictment. Tonight, that changes. Mueller accusing Stone of trying to obstruct investigations into Russian interference by Congress and the FBI, and alleging that Roger Stone was effectively trying to illegally bully Credico into silence, threatening him and his dog, all part of an effort to stop Credico from truthfully cooperating with these probes. Randy Credico joins me on the beat right now. Thank you for coming to this show with your first remarks since the indictment.
Thank you very much.
A lot of people are interested in the role you played, and let's start with this.
Okay.
Mueller investigated whether there was a conspiracy with Russia and whether Roger Stone lied about all this in invoking you as his link to WikiLeaks. And Mueller found no chargeable conspiracy, but also found that Stone was lying and obstructing. What was going on? Why lie if there was no conspiracy?
Well, I really don't want to tamper with that case right now. I mean, if you ask me specific questions, was I the back channel? No, I was not the back channel.
Here's a specific question. Okay. Was Mr. Stone lying to protect himself or Donald Trump?
I really don't know his motivation. I'm serious. It's really up in the air. I mean, it's probably in that report. That report, by the way, would have been out 6 months ago if Trump hadn't been lying, if Trump hadn't interfered, if Trump hadn't obstructed justice.
You make an interesting point, which is that the lies in public and some of the allegedly illegal lies and obstruction have actually made this all take longer, which would seem to go against these people's interests. Let me play, though, some of what has been attributed as a lie. Again, Mueller says you were the victim of obstruction, not involved in it. Here was Roger Stone talking about his link to WikiLeaks.
I said that I had communicated with Mr. Assange. We have a mutual acquaintance who is a fine gentleman. I actually have communicated with Assange. I believe the next tranche of his documents pertain to the Clinton Foundation. I have not met with Mr. Assange, and I never said I had. I said we communicated through an intermediary, somebody who is a mutual friend.
Was he referring to you, and was that true?
At that point, I don't know if it was me or if it was Jerome Corsi. All I know, I was named by him when he went before the House Intel Committee. He named me.
He named you, and then you're bringing up person 1, who we've also spoken to. Again, now here from the Mueller indictment of Roger Stone. It says Roger Stone directed Corsi, not Credico, to contact the head of WikiLeaks. Now that the probe is over, do you have any idea why it was important to Roger to blame you for something that Mueller found involved Corsi?
You know, it's a conundrum inside a riddle, inside a Rubik's Cube. I really do not know why he had to do that. If he had just told the truth, I wouldn't be here today. None of us. I don't even know why he even went before the House Intel Committee. He could have invoked a fifth. There's no reason to do it.
You were in touch with him during the 2016 campaign. Did you get the impression from your discussions with Roger Stone that he had inside info on what WikiLeaks was going to do?
Absolutely not. And listen, he didn't communicate with Julian Assange, and neither did Corsi. There's not a snowball's chance in hell that
so if
he would
that's
communicate
true,
with those two
if
guys.
That's true, and I'll remind anyone listening that Mueller has been crediting your side of the case, if that's true, is Roger Stone the Saddam Hussein of the Mueller probe, bluffing about political weapons he didn't have?
Yeah, I don't know what his motivation was, I'll be honest with you. Maybe that'll come out, why he had to say that it was me or why he had to say he had a back channel.
Let me ask you something else.
I don't want to be hauled before Judge Jackson.
Who would? I mean? Who would?
At this point, me.
I'm saying nobody would want to be in this position. Yes. I think people can understand that. Here's another big question I've been dying to ask you.
Right. Where did I get this tie? Yes.
No. Close, but no. Mueller, in Roger Stone's indictment, reveals that a senior Trump campaign person was, quote, directed to contact Stone about additional releases and damaging information. Did you have the impression that Stone was talking to Donald Trump or senior aides about this kind of thing during the campaign?
I think he was probably bluffing Trump, and Trump really didn't look into it, that he was having communications. That was his way of getting himself in good favor with Trump. And Trump probably said it. I believe what Michael Cohen said, that he called up and Trump said, all right, let's keep on top of this. I believe that.
So they tied themselves in knots, bluffing over something that they maybe didn't have from WikiLeaks.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
During the campaign, how early on did you talk to Roger Stone about WikiLeaks?
It really didn't come up until, let's say, I had Assange on my show late in August, and I told him and about 5 other people that Assange was going to be on my show. In September 9th, he got Gary Johnson on my show, on my radio show. So the quid pro quo was I would get him Assange, but I didn't even ask because I wanted Assange for myself.
Did you communicate with Stone in August about all of that?
No, it was September 9th. I know exactly the date. I did send him a text message saying that Assange was going to be on my show. It was, because he had said
But this is important,
yes.
Randy. You also texted Roger on August 26th saying Assange has kryptonite on Hillary.
Right. I did say that. Yes.
Were you referring to inside information on forthcoming document dumps?
No. First of all, I had no idea that the Podesta emails were coming out. What I did know was that he had gone on television and had said, I think it was on Fox, that he had information on Hillary Clinton, that he was going to come out and talking about Julian Assange.
Your claim is that you were just kind of talking it up.
I said that to a lot of people. I said it to him. I said it to a lot of people because
I gotta
he
ask
had
you,
said that.
Right. Then on October 1st.
I thought I was doing impressions tonight.
Maybe later. Then on October 1st.
You're not going to have Randy Credico.
Then on October 1st, Mueller says that you wrote to Stone, Hillary's campaign will die this week.
Right.
6 days later, stolen emails come out from Podesta. Were you predicting that?
I was definitely. Well, first of all, I was in London. I went there on the 27th through the 30th. I was in London ostensibly to see a friend of mine.
I'm gonna question you like anyone else. I'm gonna say, why don't you give me?
You're tougher than Aaron Zelensky. Seriously.
Why don't you give me a yes or no? Were you predicting?
No, I was predicting because I was at the airport, Heathrow Airport. They have a duty-free shop there that you can drink for nothing as you're going around, and I got whacked, and I just was having this communication. I was predicting because I had heard from somebody that went public that something was coming out that week. He already telegraphed it, or he basically.
But your answer here, and this is your first time speaking since the indictment, your answer is no, you were not trying to predict what Assange was going to do.
I was outside the embassy, and I took a picture. There was a guy standing.
But I'm not asking about the picture.
All right, well, I think it's important that I get some in. This is like a tough trip for me right now. It's like the Jode family going to California.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I mentioned in introducing you that you are, according to Mueller, a victim of obstruction. But a lot, as you know, Randy, a lot has gone down here. I have another thing to ask you, and I want you to give us a straight answer. Mueller quotes you as telling Stone in September, when you get the request to contact Assange, you say to Stone, just remember, do not name me as your connection to Assange. You had one before you referred to.
Right. He talked about having to me, he said that he had someone when he was on that tape that you played when he was in Central Florida. When he played, he said, I didn't want to be the guy because.
But then it says on September 19th.
There was a guy by the name of Dr. Paul. Shelby Holiday, if you read her article
I know, but it says
really clarifies.
But I'm giving you a chance to clarify it. You then say on September 19th that you're going to go ahead, you already passed the message to Assange. What was going on there?
There was no message that was passed to Assange, and I don't even know which text message. There's hundreds and hundreds of text messages.
Slow down.
Wait
this is important. No.
I want you to
if you don't know which, Randy, I'm going to read it to you. I'll give you time to respond.
All right.
I'll give you time to respond.
Wait until you see the report.
No, but I have an indictment of Roger Stone that says he was obstructing justice based on his treatment of you, and I'm asking you, when you wrote to him, I did pass your message to Assange. What did that mean?
The message was something that I never pass anything on to Assange, never. The only thing, I was able to reach someone to get him on my show.
When's the last time you've had contact with Julian Assange?
Actually, a year ago today, I had contact with him, and he knew I was doing your show for the second time.
But let's end with a couple bottom lines. Bottom line number one. Why did Mueller's investigators care so much about what Roger Stone lied about?
Listen, I really don't know.
You don't know.
I don't
bottom
know.
Line,
I
bottom,
don't know
okay,
why.
That, no, I don't
I'll
know.
be
Is a good
honest
enough.
with you.
Hey,
I have no
I don't know.
idea. They
Randy,
spent
Randy,
6 or 7 days. That's not all they talked to me
Randy,
about.
I don't know is a fine answer. So I don't know. Bottom line number two. Bottom line number two. Based on everything that's happened, do you believe Stone is likely to be convicted of obstruction, and will he get a pardon?
I don't want to talk about that. That's, it's like I said, I'm not even thinking about that. Remember, I had a father that did 10 years in prison before I was born, all right? That's something
If you don't want to talk about it, that's a short answer. Do you think Roger Stone's counting on a pardon?
He'll get a pardon. He'll definitely get a pardon. He's been loyal to this president for 37 years. I know the president is not loyal, doesn't reciprocate loyalty, but in this case, he really doesn't want Roger Stone yapping out there.
Randy Credico,
thank you.
Person
very
number
much.
2. Thank you for coming back on The Beat and taking the questions. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.